Hello, friends. Today's chapter of the day is Psalm 114. And Psalm 114 is kind of an unassuming little psalm. It's only 8 verses long. And it's talking about the power of God. And there are a couple of things about Psalm 114 that are really, really interesting. First of all, as we look through it, it's talking about the Exodus. It's talking about the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. And you might wonder, this is written around the time of David. Why are we still talking about that? Well, because that was really the great act of deliverance, of protection, of provision that God had done for his people, taking them out of slavery and bringing them into the promised land. It was the identifying characteristic or the identifying act that God has done to make clear his relationship with his people and his special relationship with Jacob, aka Israel. The second thing we see is we don't see God named until verse 7. Until then, we have a history, and then we have a series of questions. Why was it sea that you fled? Why, Jordan, did you turn back? Why, mountains, did you leap like rams, you hills like lambs? Well, the psalmist knows the answer. And he wants us to be led to the answer in the Spirit as we're reading it. And the answer is because of the power of God. That's what led the people of Israel out of Egypt and into the promised land. That's what protected them. And that's what did all these miracles along the way. And then it points to one of those miracles, verse 8, who turned the rock into a pool, the hard rock into springs of water. And you might wonder why that miracle? There was manna, there were doves, there was the parting of the Red Sea, but why point at God bringing water forth out of the rock? Well, it was provision for his people, but more importantly, it pointed forward to God's salvation of his people. Because what does he do for our hearts? What does Jesus say? Whoever trusts in me, I will give him springs of living water. Make him a spring of living water. He'll put the Holy Spirit inside of us so that we can serve God and just ooze his truth to the world around us. And then the last thing about Psalm 114 that I think is fascinating is that Psalm 114 is part of a series of psalms that were sung by the Israelites at the Passover. And what does that mean? The Jews would sing this at the Passover. So what that probably means is that Jesus' last night, when he celebrated the Passover with his disciples, he sang this. He sang this psalm with them to look back on what God had done for the people of Israel and look forward to what God would do for all of us. So my prayer is that as you think about these things, you really consider the goodness of God and can be amazed for a little while at what he's done for you, even though you most certainly, just like me, don't deserve it. God bless. Have a great weekend.